All right, thanks again for joining us. I'm really excited today to share with you our medical and training education niche site. This is created by two partners, Sunil and Paulie. These interviews are designed to help potential buyers get more information about both the seller and the sites they're potentially looking to purchase. And we hope that these insights in this interview are helpful for you in making a buying decision. Sunil, thanks so much for being on the show, man.
Thanks, Justin.
So let's do this. We generally start off with like an introduction. I'd like to get a little bit of experience about you and your business partner. Can you tell us about your background in building, buying, selling sites and online businesses?
So sure. My partner and I loosely been involved in the SEO space, I'd say over the last 10 years, but really more so over the last 4 years. You know, we were looking to generate income online passively. And actually I got my start following Pat Flynn at the Smart Passive Income blog. And I know SEO has evolved over the years since those days, but you know, my partner and I have been working together to figure out how best to kind of scale SEO and create websites passively. You know, we've spent the past 2 years really building out our network, our infrastructure to do that. And, you know, we found the medical niche to be a good one. And so that's where we've gotten our start.
The medical niche is definitely fantastic. We've sold quite a few medical education training sites in the past. It's funny you got your start with Smart Passive Income, Pat Flynn over there, because I think he's helped out so many people with his niche site Duel and his security guard training site and really kind of like laid the roadmap for people to build out profitable, established sites. And so it's been, I think, really helpful for our industry. The site we're talking about is currently listed at $66,000. And it's making gross revenue of just over $3,500 a month. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, what monetization methods you've tried? I mean, this site is built with QuinStreet and AdSense. What other things have you tried, and what's your preference?
Yeah, no, so Paulie and I have, we launched this site, early part of this year, and we had experiences with AdSense, and we knew that was working well. We also wanted to do the CPA model. And, the option that we had explored before was EduSearch. And to be honest, they were doing a pretty good job. Well, we've heard such good things about QuinStreet, and we tried to give it a shot and really saw a huge spike in conversions. And so, we've stuck with it. I'd say our monetization methods have just been a lot of trial and error. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement. But, I think we've gotten it to the point where we're very happy with the conversions, but there's definitely room for improvement and sort of more trial and error in terms of what works better.
I think it's interesting too, and I'll just mention this again, but that, the fact that you guys are working on this as a partnership. So, I mean, your sites generally have to be more successful. You have to make them at least twice as good or better than what you'd make on your own building them. But you do have someone else that you can kind of rely on and kind of back you up in areas that you're weak. That's something that Joe and I found, 1 + 1 has to equal more than 2 for it to be worth it to us. I think you've got a bit of a winner on your hands with this, medical training education niche site. It's done pretty well for you. Why did you get into this particular niche? Why was the medical training niche important to you? Why did you go after it for the money, or were you thinking that, did you have some experience in that area?
Yeah, so just as a quick background, prior to sort of working on this, I had a lot of experience in the healthcare space. And, I knew it was a growing part of the economy, and job creation there was quite significant in the United States. And I knew as such people needed training in schools. And so, one of the indicators, and I'll kind of just share a secret, is if you go to Indeed.com and you look at the sort of trends for different healthcare jobs, the niche that we're talking about is up there in terms of the most searched items. So, there's many different ways to kind of back into what would be attractive, but that's sort of a back of the envelope process that my partner and I use to kind of come to this.
I love that. So, looking at which industries are expected to grow significantly over the next 3, 5, 10 years, and then building in those niches, knowing that that growth is expected is pretty interesting. The one niche, as an aside, I think that's really interesting is the nursing home or the, retirement community niche with all the baby boomers getting older. I just think there's a ton of opportunity in that space. Like if you could go through and do high level video reviews of all these places and really lay out that information for the baby boomers' kids as they're helping their parents shop for a place, I think there's real money in that industry. But so yeah, I love the approach for niche selection.
That's saying videos are great, and that's just definitely, especially for seniors, I think it's easier for them to use and follow as well.
For sure. So what determination do you use to decide whether or not a niche is a go or a no-go? I mean, obviously, you looked and saw that this particular space was a growth industry. Did you do any keyword research? Did you, look at some of the competition out there? How did you decide to roll with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a combination of both of those. So I think, if I recall correctly, Patty Flynn says, don't go after any niche less than 3,000 monthly searches. And that's a criteria I've always used. And then the niche that we're talking about gets over 18,000 a month. So it definitely fits that criteria. And then in terms of, competition and keyword research, I think that's a combination of two things, right? One, you have to understand sort of, hey, what are the top 10 results for whatever you're targeting? I think that's easier, but I think a lot of people also need to understand is sort of, what do they have at their disposal to be able to compete with that? And so Polly and I definitely know, what we have, what we can build, and how we stack up. And so we try to not go after too competitive keywords, but we know sort of the right mix, and that's kind of how we go about choosing what is best for our skill set.
I love these niches, and Pat Flynn did this as well as security guard training, where there's like a local component, because that gives you like immediate content ideas. The expandability is tremendous, and this site definitely fits the bill there. Let's talk a little bit about why you're selling it. Buyers always want to know this, and sellers are generally a bit cagey, or sometimes you get some kind of bland answers as to why they're selling. I want the money. Why are you choosing to sell the site instead of keeping it?
No, absolutely. So I think Polly and I hate to keep saying that, but, our partnership, we have a certain expertise. Our expertise is to identify really profitable niches, number one, figure out based on what we have, whether it's, assets, link building, our capabilities, and we take it to a certain level. That's where we feel all our value creation is the most useful and matches our skill set, and where we feel like we can generate the best ROI for our skill set. And so I think, incrementally, this site has a lot of potential, but just from what we want to do, I feel like we've gotten it to a point where it's in better hands with people that can take it to the next level. And we can certainly talk about that when we get into the monetization section. I certainly have a lot of ideas on how to grow this. Again, I just think that where we want to focus is sort of getting it to this level and kind of handing it over to someone that can really take it to the next level. We just feel we're not really ready to put the incremental effort to kind of get it to the next level.
What's your plan for the cash when you sell? Are you going to be reinvesting? Are you going to take a vacation? What are you going to do with the cash?
I'm actually in badly need of a vacation, so certainly coming to the Philippines might not be a bad idea. No, but, we have a real business in terms of what we do. And our core business is helping clients rank. And so as part of that, we have huge infrastructure costs, both from software that we build internally. And we have investors. So part of it's actually to pay back investors.
Okay. One of the questions that buyers always want to know when they're getting into a site or looking to purchase a site is whether or not you're going to be in the same market. So they don't want to buy the site and then all of a sudden find themselves competing with you for the same keywords and the same niche.
Yeah. No, we have no intention to continue to compete in this space. I don't enjoy reading about this medical niche every day. After all, it gets boring anyway. So, but seriously, no, we're happy to sign a non-compete.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about site history. Now, the site isn't that old. It looks like it was built in January 2014. Let's talk a little bit about like the trajectory, like how was it? How did it respond the first couple of weeks, the first couple of months, and when did you really realize that you had something good on your hands?
Yeah, so I guess what doesn't do justice here is, we launched it in January, but the amount of research and the infrastructure we built around supporting that site, we've worked on over the last couple of years. And so what I'd like to say is sort of, yes, it got launched in January officially, and the reason it's sort of been so successful so quickly is we've had all the pieces in space. Like, we've done all the keyword research, we've analyzed all the competition, we've figured out sort of what sort of backlinking would work for this, and we've really optimized to have it perform at the level that it is. So I'd say, a lot of our legwork that's required to kind of take it to where it is today happened beforehand, which doesn't really come off on when the site was launched.
Gotcha. Okay, so buyers, when they get into sites like this, it helps to save them time if you can tell them kind of what you tried that didn't work, some of the things that did. So can you kind of get into that a bit?
Yeah, so I think what works and what doesn't work largely, comes down to two things. One, driving traffic, right? So that's ranking. And the two components that we primarily look at is on-page and off-page. And, it's just a function of figuring out what right mix of keywords to use, H1, H2 tags, ordering really thoroughly researched content, placing specific schools for specific states. And then that's sort of on the on page. And then the off page, where we're getting the links, we have 50 YouTube videos. We've got Facebook, Twitter, we've got our PBN that we use. And really just figuring out the right mix of anchor text. And a lot of it's sort of launching, identifying where it stands, and then tweaking to optimize it. And that usually takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months because, once you make the tweak, you kind of have to wait to see how it responds. And like I said, in terms of the monetization, I think we've always used AdSense. We've always thought that was a great way to monetize. And then the other thing that we moved from was Edge's search to QuinStreet. We felt that yielded better results.
In our research, we realized that, or at least Moz was showing that there were 56 external links. Many of those were coming from your private blog network. And then, as you mentioned, there are some, there's a YouTube account. Is the YouTube account included with the sale?
Yeah, so the YouTube account, the Twitter account, the Facebook account, they're all thrown through Google Plus file.
Unfortunately, the PBN is not included with the sale, but you are willing to agree to leave the links in place. Is that correct?
Yeah, and not only that, we'll replace anything that ever gets indexed.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about traffic and earnings. I've got here showing a little over 12,500 page views in the last 30 days. We've got a little over 42,000 page views in the last 90 days. How much of that is organic?
Almost all of it. I think you can look at the breakdown in analytics, but we don't pay for traffic, and I can't really think of any direct referrals that we're currently getting. Yeah, so I think it's all analytics. It's all organic Google search.
Okay. In looking at it, it looks like majority of the earnings are coming from QuinStreet with just a bit from AdSense. Can you give me a quick breakdown? It looks like mostly QuinStreet. Is that right?
Yeah, mostly QuinStreet. It does vary depending on the month, but no, I think the payout on QuinStreet is so high for this niche that kind of trumps AdSense.
Let's talk a little bit about the traffic sources. Where are, the majority of your traffic is coming organically. Are you ranked on the first page? Are you number 1 or number 2 for a bunch of key phrases? Or are you kind of middle of the page, second page? Where do you fall for some of the high traffic keywords?
Yeah, no, so pretty much 1 to 3, I'd say, for anywhere from 20 to 30 keywords. A lot of them geolocated keywords for this niche, and they drive the majority of our traffic.
Cool. All right, so let's get into the opportunities. Let's set the stage and look at, someone's looking to buy this site. A lot of times they want to know what you would do if you were keeping the site. Let's say for whatever reason we came back to you and said, hey man, not selling. What would you do with the site? Like, how would you maintain it? What would be your plan for growth here?
Okay. So I think the first thing that I would do is figure out, I think what we just talked about, where am I getting most of my traffic from? So when I mentioned most of the drivers are ranking 1, 2, 3 for certain states or cities. If it's 3, I would try to push it to 1. So that's just incremental link building that gets you the highest ROI. And then I feel like there's other states that you should link build to that would drive additional revenue. So that's, I think, the lowest hanging fruit that you can go after on day one. Secondarily, we've only got about, I'd say, 15 cities. And I know for a fact that this niche plus a city, there are hundreds of other cities that get traffic that we have not written articles on. So I think adding additional content targeting those schools or cities would certainly help in terms of the number of pages that are driving traffic in. And as with any medical niche, I think, the adjacent categories outside of just training or schools is salary and jobs. And those drive a tremendous amount of traffic. And that's something that we have spent no time on. I think we have about 5 articles each for those categories, but you can certainly add a lot more and really drive a lot of traffic and monetize it that way. What I think we haven't done a good job on, and probably what I would focus on, is really beefing up, adding more images to the site. Currently, there are none on the site outside of sort of the branded graphics, the header images and whatnot. So I'd say adding more media-rich content certainly help. And lastly, we don't own enough sites to say that we're even conversion experts. I think there's definitely folks out there that are monetizing much, much better than us. So I think tweaking and testing to increase conversion would be the last leg of sort of how I would go about increasing revenue.
One of the things I really love about the site, man, I totally agree with you regarding the content strategy and really kind of beefing out some of the local content. One of the things I love and about this site is that I think someone with kind of a basic understanding could take over. It doesn't require, intermediate to advanced site building. So that also means that it's easier to put processes in place for other people to take it over. So it's more of, I think, an absentee owner type situation to maintain. And if you do want to move into like the intermediate levels, I just see opportunity for calling, let's say, educational institutions in the niche and asking them questions in different states or cities, and then putting some of that audio or even video content on the site. I could see that being, first, it'd be an interesting thing to do. It's just interesting content, and I think it would really help the site because you're getting, YouTube traffic, you're getting some audio traffic. I think that would be a really cool thing to add to the site and really kind of expand it.
Yeah, absolutely. So to that point, Justin, I think to the extent you want to just leave it there, literally there's minimal work required. You'll continue to accumulate cash flow, but to the extent that you really want to take ownership and kind of take it to the next level, it's incrementally not that difficult to, like you said, get more content or YouTube videos and really take it to the next level.
So I love it, and I think the opportunities are wide-ranging, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for someone to come in and either just maintain the site and continue where it is, or to really grow and expand the site. But that always comes with some downsides, some risks too. And I think for me looking at it, one of the bigger risks is that it's new, right? It was only built in January 2014. The other one is that I'm basing my backlinks pretty heavily on a PBN that you own and control. So could you speak to that briefly, and then also mention any risks that you think there are with the site for potential buyers, if you were buying or potentially buying the site?
No, look, I think with buying any property online, you run those two risks. One, that it doesn't stay where it is, right, in terms of rankings. And two, that, it'll tank right after you buy it. So I think those are two real concerns that any buyer would have. What I'd like to say is, to the point where you said the PBN is actually a negative, the way I think about it, I think it's a positive. And I say that because when you own your own links and you know where they're coming from, should something change in Google's algorithm, you can adjust accordingly, right? You have control over the anchor text, what you can do and change, and we're willing to offer support and replace those links to the extent possible. We have a very huge PBN. We can create PBNs on the go if necessary, and that's something we built over the last 2.5 years. So, we're here to be supportive. We think that owning your own PBN is optimal, but, we're offering something I think it's even better is we'll place those links, and to the extent that you want to do more with us, we're happy to service the buyer. And two, you have more control over where the links are coming from and what they have, or what the anchor text is.
I like the answer regarding PBNs and being in control of the links. It's a lot easier to remove links than trying to go through and use the disavow tool on platforms that hold links that you don't control and can't change. So that's I think that's a valid argument. We actually looked at the anchor text breakdown, and it's pretty diversified. It's not, very heavily toward one keyword or another. So we were impressed with that. And I think it's interesting you talk about, building your own PBNs. And we talked about this, or Joe had talked with you about this, before we got on the show, is, in the future, potentially having many PBNs that go with the sites. I think that'd be really interesting. And for people that are looking to build sites, I think that's a great way to kind of set it up. So you're setting them up as like these little mini entities, and you're having mini exits, and they have their link building that come in place. I think that's pretty interesting for buyers.
Justin, just so you know, we're happy to sell the PBN that's associated with this if they're interested. Again, it just would come with an additional cost. If the buyer is interested, we're happy to offer that up.
Cool. Something else that buyers are interested in is, they want to know that they're going to be supported after they buy the site. They don't want the seller just running away, and they don't want you running off to the Philippines and drinking beers with us for a week and not responding to their emails. So how much support are you willing to offer buyers that end up purchasing this site?
I think we're happy to, I think I addressed this on the email, but, we're happy to do 2 to 3 hour phone call the first month, answer emails at any time during the first month. I think within reason, be helpful post-close. It's in our best interest to maintain a good reputation. We're in this business for the long haul, and we're not running away, and it's, to be honest, it's not enough money to run away.
Yeah. This isn't retirement. This isn't FU money. No.
Right. So my point is we're not going anywhere. We'll be around for a long time. We want to maintain good terms with people that buy from us, and we want them to make money. I think ideal situation is everyone's happy.
Yeah, if
That's the way I look at it.
If anyone's actually listening to this or watching the video and they end up buying it, I'd love to get on the phone with you for an hour or two and talk about the site, just because I'm really interested in it. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I'd like to share some of the expansion strategies that I would put in place on this, just because I'd like to see you make a winner out of this. So
Absolutely.
let's do a quick wrap up, talk about the site. So again, the industry is the medical education training niche. It's monetized primarily via QuinStreet, and it has some AdSense as well. Gross revenue per month, average over the last 3 months, is $3,511.55. Costs are about $200 a month in content and about $10 a month in hosting. We've subtracted that from the average revenue and come up with net profit per month of $3,301.55 to give us a listing price of $66,031. That's 20 times $3,300. There's a 5% refundable deposit required, and with that deposit, you'll get, just a bunch of information, including analytics, all the earnings detail, and everything that we have and everything that the seller can provide you. The date created was January 2014. We've got 12,500 page views in the last 30 days, 42,000 page views in the last 90 days. It's mostly organic traffic, and you're ranked generally number 1, number 2, number 3 for some high-powered keywords that are fairly varied. We looked at the backlink profile. The anchor texts are varied, and most of the links come from PBNs, YouTube videos, and other things that you've created. And you're willing to possibly discuss the sale of the PBN during the negotiation. You're also willing to, offer 30 days of email support and some phone calls. Would you accept an earn-out on this? So if someone wanted to, let's say, give you 60% up front and 40% over 6 months, does something like that interest you?
Yeah, absolutely. It would be open to negotiation, but yeah, I think we would be open to that.
Yeah, not like absolutely. I'm hoping for an earn-out, no. But yes, you're open to it if
to the extent that we want to build trust with people and to prove that we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. I love this. What's great about earnouts and kind of like structuring deals is that sometimes deals get stuck and, this gap between what the seller wants and the buyer wants. And sometimes, a little bit of structure, a bit of different structure can kind of like make that deal go through where it wouldn't have otherwise, where we got stuck before. So that's something that Joe and I provide that I think is valuable for buyers and sellers. So Sunil, give me your 30-second best pitch. You got 30 seconds to tell the buyers why they should be looking to purchase this site. What would you say?
It's in one of the hottest niches out there. It's a business that really you can just be as hands-off as you want. It's completely passive. To the extent you want to take it to the next level, it's not incrementally difficult work. You just need to add localized content, some media-rich content, a little bit of link building, and I think you can double monthly revenues within a very short period of time. You've got great support partners, and Polly and I will be here to help you through it and make a winner out of it.
Awesome, Sunil.
I don't know if that was 30 seconds, but that's all.
Yeah, man, that works. Sunil, I really appreciate your time. I'm wishing you and Polly the best of luck with the sale and with your future business. And thanks for everyone listening in. And we hope this provided value and helped you make a decision whether or not